Good evening, guys. Welcome to the session. Thanks for coming. So we are waiting for people to few people to come and join the session. In the meantime, if you have any query, you can post it in the chat section. So this session would be around half an hour to 1 hour, and you may ask. You can ask your queries. First, I'll give you a brief information about the CSAT strategy of the preparation strategy and also the exam strategy. And once that is done, I'll open the floor for any question. In the meanwhile, you can also type your queries in the chat section. You can ask your doubts. It may not have to be just for the CSAT. You can also ask the general studies strategies also. Queries also that you have. And I'll be happy to solve your doubts. So I'll just give a brief about the presentation that I have prepared, and if you have any doubts, you can ask in the middle, or you can also post it in the chat section. So UPSC CSAT, it's as everyone knows, it is just a qualifying exam, but most of the people are not able to qualify this exam, and some of the reasons that they are not able to clear is because one is lack of practice. The second is panicking in the examination hall. What happens is once you are under stressful conditions, if you have less time and you're asked to solve maths questions, your brain would stop working. You would panic, and everything seems to, because you have done very well, you would have done very well in GS paper 1 in the morning session. In the afternoon session, you don't want to fail the prelims just because of the CSAT paper. And all that pressure adds to your nervousness, and then it affects your performance. So this is what they have given in the notification about the CSAT. They have said that the paper is for 200 marks. The paper is for 200 marks, but they have not mentioned what are the number of questions that are being asked. So the number of questions are not being asked. Are not mentioned here. The number of questions are not mentioned in the notification. That means you have to, in the examination hall, you have to check the question paper, read the instructions properly, and see the number of questions that are there. So it can change, because if the questions were fixed, they would have mentioned it in the notification itself. So from the notification, we can understand that these are the topics that they may ask. One is comprehension. Second is interpersonal skills, including communication skills. This is also will be checked in the verbal part. Logical reasoning and analytical ability. That's your those arrangement type of questions and logic-based questions. Then decision making and problem solving. This would be the maths question. And the general mental ability is also maths question. Basic numeracy is maths question. So they are saying that the basic, the difficulty level is of class 10th level. And then there is data interpretation, where they'll give you charts, graphs, tables, or data sufficiency, etc. They have lately they have been asking more data sufficiency questions. And these are the topic areas that you need to cover. The comprehension part and the logical reasoning and decision making. These are the maths part. So they have made it a qualifying examination. That means people who have scored above 33% would qualify, would not be, would not fail this exam. So if you score above the cutoff in GS1, but if you score below 33% in GS2, you will not be qualified to write mains exam. So this is a qualifying exam, but lately even getting this 33% has become very tough. The questions will be of multiple choice, objective type question. So this will be multiple choice and objective type question. This is this year's notification, 2023's notification. I'm just showing you here. It is mandatory for the candidate to appear both the papers and for the purpose of evaluation. Therefore, a candidate will be disqualified in case he or she does not appear in both the papers of civil service prelims examination. And in my experience of giving this exam, I have seen some people after paper 1, they would have taken a break and they would have left the test center and for having food or something. And by the time they arrived at the center, the gate would have been closed. So please don't take that risk. If you can, take the food with you and eat it in the near the examination center itself. And also carry, I'll just cover these things here. Carry a tablet for the headache so that you don't have a headache. After what happens in after paper 1, your brain gets exhausted and you may have that feeling of some people may get headaches. So carry this tablet with you. Don't forget. Make a list of the items that you may have to carry. Make a list of items. So one is tablet, the other is water bottle. The third is food. If you can get it parceled without onion or something, because onion may in the summer it may get spoiled. So without onion, food without onion, I mean, it's possible. Because don't leave the center. I mean, if you leave the center and come back late, I've seen some people not being allowed to get into the center. So if you don't give paper 2, you will not be considered for the, I mean, the whole, I mean, it won't be counted. The whole paper, I mean, even GS1 won't be counted. So please ensure that you have the tablet, because in the afternoon, if you start, I mean, in my case, I used to take a tablet even before the start of the exam, because I knew that I would get headache somewhere around 2:30 or 3 o'clock. So I would take the tablet and then get into the exam hall, at least in the paper 2 section. Take the water bottle, food, and then your ID card and other things. So please be careful with these things. If you want, you can take a chocolate bar or something for energy, for instant energy, or you can take a glucose powder with you. So these are the basics that you need to take. I mean, the basic things that you need to take to the examination hall. So once you enter the examination hall, please don't quarrel with the examiner or the invigilator. Yes, it is still possible. I mean, you still have around 45 to 50 days. You can still prepare for the CSAT. One more thing that I want to mention is, please don't get into any argument with the exam invigilator. That will be the last thing that you want after preparing for 1.5 years, and you have an argument or quarrel with the invigilator, and your mental stability will be disturbed. Even for paper 1 and paper 2, never ever argue with the invigilator. If you want to ask something, please ask with humbleness. Don't quarrel and don't talk to him with an attitude, because he can screw your life. And once you get into an argument with him, you cannot think clearly while solving the exam. I personally know 2 to 3 people who had an argument with the examiner or the invigilator, and they have failed the prelims. So please don't argue with the examiner or the invigilator. Just request him, and whatever is there, I mean, even if there is any issue with your ID card and all, tell him that once the exam is over, you will address his queries. For example, your face may not be similar. I mean, the photo in your ID card may not be similar to the photo that you may have given in the application card for the application. So if he has any queries, please ask him that, sir or madam, I'll talk to you once the exam is over. Even if you have made a mistake in the OMR sheet, don't panic. Everything can be sorted out. I had made a mistake in filling the OMR in the mains, and the best thing I did was I didn't get nervous. I told them that, okay, I mean, the invigilator was nervous. I told her, ma'am, it's okay. We'll sort it out after writing the mains. After the paper at 5 o'clock, we'll sort it out. So after the paper, I went to her. She said everything was sorted out. You don't have to worry. But if you panic in the middle, everything will go into the drain. So don't panic during the exam. And don't worry, everything can be sorted out. Nothing is something like, you have done a drastic mistake and nothing can be changed. Everything can be changed. They'll bring if you have done a mistake in the OMR sheet, they'll bring a whitener and they'll correct it. Don't worry about all those things. But please, that doesn't mean that you are not attentive. So please be very careful while filling the OMR sheets and also you are marking the answers. If you make a mistake there, that can't be solved. So as soon as you go into the examination halls, read the instructions, because in the notification they are not given the number of questions that they may ask. Read the question here, instructions here. Instructions are given in the front page. Ensure that the serial number here, there is no mistake in the serial number. And then read the instructions here. In this, they have given that there will be 80 questions. There will be 80 questions. And each item is printed in both Hindi and English. And then you have to mark all the responses only on the separate answer sheet that is provided. All items carry equal marks. Okay, read these things. And then for the penalties, they have said that there will be penalty for the wrong answers marked by a candidate. And 1/3 would be the penalty. So that would be 0.833. So they have given that there are 80 questions, 200, there will be 200 marks and 80 questions. So this comes out to be 2.5 marks for each question. And 1/3 of it is 0.833. So this is the negative mark for every wrong answer, and this is the positive mark. And you have to get 33% marks. So these are the things that they are given, that 80 questions are there. Each would carry 2.5 marks. All items carry equal marks. And if you have a problem, if you don't understand an English word properly, if you can understand Hindi, there would be a translation of Hindi also. In translation in Hindi also, you can check the Hindi wordings and understand the passage. This is for people who can clearly understand Hindi. And there would be question printed and translated in Hindi also, so you can read those Hindi translated version also. Okay, and the penalty would be 1/3. So if a candidate gives more than one answer, it will be treated as a wrong answer. If you bubble more than once, so it will be considered as a wrong answer. And if the question is blank, there will be no penalty for that question. So these are the instructions that are given. And in each paper, from the previous year's analysis, reading comprehension or the verbal part would be somewhere close to 25 to 30 questions would come from reading comprehension. Then quantitative reasoning, the maths part, 30 to 40 questions would be there, and logical reasoning would be 10 to 25. So according to the previous papers, this is the pattern. And out of these 80 questions, if you can solve without any negatives, without any getting any question wrong, you may have to solve 27 correct answers. Out of 80, you have to solve 27 correct without any mistakes, without a single question getting wrong. So in each section, that would turn out to be 9, approximately 9 correct questions in reading comprehension, 9 correct in quantitative reasoning, and 9 in logical reasoning. But the problem is most of them don't have 100% accuracy. If you have 100% accuracy, 27 question would be more than enough. Will be enough to clear this. But since we make mistakes, we have to solve more than 27 questions. And I have made a table where you can see what should be your attempts depending on your accuracy. So I'll explain what the table is. In this table, the first column is accuracy. The second column is the total number of questions. If the questions are like previous year's papers, so I'm assuming that it would be 80. But please be very careful. You have to read the instructions on the first page of the question paper. Then the minimum questions to be attempted, the correct and the wrong questions and the wrong questions that you have got, the passing marks and the marks scored. So this 66 is the passing marks to clear CSAT. So if your accuracy is 50%, you would get 40 correct and 40 wrong. and the marks that you would score is 66.8. So if your accuracy is 50%, you have to attempt, minimum questions that you have to attempt is 80. Because if you attempt less than that, and if your accuracy is 50%, you would not clear the exam. And also, if your accuracy is less than 50%, like for example, for every 10 questions, if you are getting 4 questions correct, you will not clear the CSAT. That is for sure. Because no matter how many questions you solve, I mean, for in this case, 80 questions, you will not clear it because you will score less than 66. And as your accuracy increases, like this, in this way, your accuracy is increasing in this column. As your accuracy increases, the minimum number of questions that you may have to attempt will also fall. So for example, if your accuracy is 70%, for every 10 questions, if you get 7 questions right, even if you solve 45 questions, the number of correct, according to this accuracy level, number of correct questions will be 32. Number of questions that you would get wrong is 13. And the scores that you would get is 69. So you will clear the exam even if you attempt 45, if your accuracy is around 40-70%. So this actually depends on your accuracy. Everything depends on your accuracy, the number of questions that you may have to solve. Most of the people don't solve above 50 questions because they ensure that, or 50-55 questions. Some people who are very good at CSAT, they solve more than 50 or 60 questions. It also depends on your accuracy and speed and the ability to read the questions fast. So if that is there, you can solve more than 50 questions. If you are very slow, or if you are average student, I would suggest attempting at least more than 40 questions. Your accuracy is in that case, your accuracy has to be 75%. So to be on the safer side, if you can solve, if your accuracy is somewhere close to 90 or 100%, you can solve just 27% and clear the exam. But if it's somewhere from 60 to 80%, you may have to score 55 to 40 to 55 questions to clear this exam. I hope this is clear. If you have any query in this chat, you may take a screenshot of this chat for your later reference. So while preparing for the CSAT, your main aim should be to increase your accuracy. So don't make mistakes, don't make silly mistakes. Take your time. When you are practicing, take your time. Solve the question properly, read the questions properly, and ensure that your accuracy improves. So whenever you are solving, when you are sitting to solve the problems, so you can solve like 20 questions in a row and see to it that, and measure your accuracy every time you solve. Every time you sit to solve CSAT, always measure your accuracy. What was your accuracy? Like for every 10 questions or every 20 questions, how many questions that you've got correct and how many questions you've got wrong. And you would get a rough idea of what's your rough accuracy, or on an average, what's your accuracy in CSAT. I hope this is clear. This chat is clear. If you have any questions, you may ask in the chat section. I'd be happy to address. Till now, whatever, this in this chat and whatever has come before. So if your accuracy is somewhere close to 80%, you can attempt 37 questions. In that 80% of 37, it would be around 30 questions. You would get 7 wrong and you would still score 69. But to be on the safer side, if you have an accuracy of 80%, I would suggest you to score, attempt more than at least 40, 42, 43, if your accuracy is 80%. So always keep a buffer. Like if you are, if your accuracy is, for example, 70%, and you may have to solve 41 questions, so at least solve 5 to 6 questions more. So that would ensure you that even if you have made a mistake in the questions that you are very strong, you would be compensated from other questions. Yeah, you can ask. Just post the questions. Once this is done, I'll take the GS questions also. So to increase the accuracy, how to prepare? Before you get into the exam, you have to prepare for this CSAT. So how to prepare? I would always suggest you go topic wise. Don't take a random paper and start solving. Go topic wise. So for example, if you take, you can take first the algebra part, and then after that simple interest, compound interest, after that time, speed, distance. So always go topic wise. Learn the concepts, learn the basics of those topics. You can read it from any textbook that you have, or any CSAT books. You would get the basics. Basics in the sense that what are the concepts that are there, what are the basic formulas. Understand these formulas, by heart these formulas. You only have to by heart the very basic formula. Don't by heart the shortcut formulas. Because the shortcuts won't work for every questions, and the UPSC has become very smart, and these days they are asking things that normal shortcut formulas won't help in solving those type of questions. And then once you learn the basic concepts, then learn the application part. So you solve 2 to 3. They would have given worked examples. See those worked examples, see how they have solved. And once you have solved, once you understand the application, then practice. So even in practicing, I would suggest for the first 20 questions. For the first 20 questions, don't time yourself. Don't time yourself. Understand the question and solve the question. Don't time in the sense, don't put a time constraint here. So don't think that I would have to do this question in 40 minutes. Take your time and solve these 20 questions. And also when you're solving, don't rush to see the solution. Don't see the solution immediately. Whenever you're solving, think about the question. If you're getting stuck, you can take a break. You can leave your desk, take a break of half an hour, and then come. You can read GS in the meanwhile, and then come back and solve it again. And for example, if you are taking 20 questions, and if you are not able to solve in this 5 questions out of 20 questions, so don't see solutions for these 5 questions. And even like in the first attempt, don't see the solutions. Give some time and then come back and then try to solve the 5 questions again from the start. Don't just go to the you are working and then start finding out. Take a fresh sheet of paper and start solving these 5 questions. And see again, if you are stuck, then again don't see the solutions. See what is the concepts that are. Write down the concept that they are checking. And then come back third time and then see again solve. If you're not able to solve, then you can see the solution. In that way, what happens is your brain would force you to find a solution. If you directly jump to the solution, your brain will not work properly. You are not allowing your brain to work properly. You are giving the answers to the brain very fast. The brain will get, it's just like a computer or a dog. If you make your brain work hard, the brain will work. If you are directly showing the solution to your brain, the brain will just learn to see the solutions. It will not work hard to show you the solutions. And the brain has to show you the solutions. So what happens is when you are stuck in the examination hall, only when you are used to solving or fighting with the questions, only when you are fighting with the questions, you are able to solve questions that may be very difficult, that may seem very difficult. But if you are used to seeing solutions quickly, your brain will also be what you will do in the examination hall is you will skip the question and move to the next question. And that has happened with me, and that has happened with many of my friends also. So don't even while practicing, don't do this mistake. Don't try to skip the question and skip and go to the solution. You will do the same thing in the examination hall also. So you will do the one question. If you are stuck in that one question, you would move to the next question. But that also doesn't mean you take 5 minutes to solve a question in the examination hall. Don't take more than 3 or 4 minutes to solve the question, at least in the first round. So this is the preparation part. Go topic wise, solve some 20 to 25 questions. And after you solve these 20, 25 or 30 questions, move to the previous year's questions of that topic. Move to the previous year's questions and then solve those questions. In our sessions, we are doing the previous year's question also. And for practicing for these 20 questions, we are also taking the questions from other UPSC exams. And these are questions that are set by the UPSC itself. So that will be a good measure of how UPSC sets the question. And once you are done with this warm-up session, then you can go to the PYQs. And after PYQs, if you want to solve, if you want further practice, you can take any textbook which has questions segregated topic wise, and then solve the questions. Take a timer, set yourself, give 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Don't give more than this, 2 to 3 minutes per question, and then solve and see what's the accuracy. And if you're getting the questions wrong, for the wrong questions, don't see the solution directly. And see, come back and solve the questions again. For example, if you are taking in your practice set, if you are taking 30 questions and you have got 10 questions wrong, so mark these 10 questions, come back again, solve these 10 questions again with a fresh sheet of paper. And then see how many questions you are getting correct or getting wrong. And then for the questions which are wrong, again wait for some time and then come back again and solve fresh. And after third attempt, if you're still not able to solve, then go and see the solution. This solution, no, in GS, it may not, in GS is a facts-based question. You can see the solutions. There is no problem in GS part. In maths, what happens is it has to click in your mind and it has to flash. So you have to see what is the problem. Where is the gap in that concept? You may have to change the equation, or you may have to transform the equations differently. So if you are giving up early in maths, solving maths questions, your brain would not be attuned or accustomed to think or push to the limits. Only when you are able to push your brain in the practice session, can your brain push examination hall also. So compared to the practice session, the examination will be at least twice or thrice tougher because of the time pressure, because of all other pressures that you carry, mental pressures that you carry. So try to push your brain when you are practicing also. If you are pushing your brain in the practice, your brain will help you in the examination hall. So try to solve, and you may not have to solve. You don't have to use the same strategy for GS part. The general studies part, but this will help in maths part. That's for sure. In general studies, if you are not able to recall something, then you can skip. You may push your brain to recall. That can help you. But if there is a question that you don't know, if there is a fact-based question and you don't have any clue about that, and there is no harm in seeing the solution for GS part. So this is for the preparation part. In the examination hall, there are some sources of mistakes that people normally do. The first source of mistakes that is not reading the question properly. This is a major source of mistake that normally people do. Because they are in a time constraint, they skip one or two important lines, and then they don't consider that, and they directly solve the question, and they may make a mistake there. Second is you are missing an important data or making error in copying the data. For example, the question may state that there are 50 oranges and you may take 500 or just 5. Like for example, you may have taken, you know that it is 50, you have written 5, and in the urgency you would have continued seeing the question. So you may have forgotten writing 0 here, and once you come to the working part, you may do the calculation considering it as 5. So that is the second kind of error that people do. And the third mistakes that people do is, in the questions, normally they give the questions in sentences. You may have to convert it into mathematical equations. People do mistakes there. So one such example is, if they say that the variable or the marks of a student has fallen by 20%. This is one statement. Has fallen by 20%. Has fallen to 20%. So there is a big difference between these two statements, by and to. So you have to be very careful with these things. So whenever you are, for example, if you are in the first thing, the marks has fallen by 20%, the old marks is M. So the new marks will be 0.8 M. This is the first part. If they are saying that the marks has fallen to 20%, that would be 0.2 M if M was the previous marks. So clearly these two are totally different. And this is the mistake some people do in the examination hall. So to correct these mistakes, you have to be very careful while practicing. And fourth mistake that they do is the silly mistakes, that the calculation mistakes. If they're, for example, when multiplying 2 into 8, instead of writing 16, they may write it as 4, or they may see something else. They may write 24. Like instead of writing 2 into 8, they may take it as 3 into 8. These are the kind of silly mistake that people do. And fifth is not calculating what they have asked. For example, yesterday when we were solving, they asked new average, but some people calculated old average. So we forget, I mean, this happens. I mean, these are all normal things. These are not like people, even people who are very smart and who are very good in maths, they make these mistakes because our brain tends to skip these things. So please be very careful of when you are solving these questions. To ensure that you don't make these mistakes, what I would suggest is, for example, there is a question here. So first thing that you have to do is read the question completely. This is the first part. Read the question completely till the end, till the last part here. Read it till here. Don't jump. Read the question completely till the last question mark. And after this, read it again. Read it again. So in the sense that read the question twice. Always read the question twice. And then after this, see what is being asked. In this question, they are asking how many years old is Sham. So you know that we have to calculate the age of Sham. How many years old is Sham? So present age of Sham, not the future or the previous age, present age of Sham. So write it down here and write a question mark. If you are supposed to calculate a variable's value, you can write the variable's name here and circle it out and write a question mark here. This is the second part. And the third thing is, so you are translating these things, right? So whenever you are translating, check twice at every step. Check twice at every step. So once you would do this problem, so for example, you may write from the direct question, you may write x plus 2 is equal to 8. Go read the question again and confirm whether this equation is correct or not. X plus 2 is 8. And check at every stage. At every stage, check whether they have made any mistake or not. This is the third part. So one is read twice, 2 times, read the question twice. Second is mark the variable or the value that you have to calculate. Right. Third is do the calculations. And while doing the calculation, check at every step. Check at every step. And after you have got the answer, once you have got the answer, read the question again. Read the question again. Read the question again before marking the answer in the OMR sheet. Before marking in the OMR sheet. So for example, you may have got the age of Sham as 20 years. So you have this variable, you have s is equal to 20. But don't just mark directly, go and mark option A. Before marking, go read the question again. See, 10 years ago, Ram was 5 times as old as Sham, but 20 years later from now, he will be only twice as old as Sham. How many years old is Sham? So again, you know that they're asking about Sham and you have calculated Sham only. And then mark the answer in the OMR sheet. So this was the standard practice, the good practices that you have to do. And you have to follow these steps for every practice question that you do. Because if you only when you practice, the same things will be carried to the examination hall. Ensure that you do all these things while you are practicing. And some of the mistakes that people do is in this converting this. For example, Ram was 5 times as old as Sham. So instead of writing Ram was 5 times as old as Sham, they may write it as S is equal to 4R or 5R. Sham was not 5 times as old as Ram. It was Ram who is as 5 times as old as Sham. So please be very careful with these things whenever you are translating these words into equations. The same thing, I have just given an example here, another example. So read the question twice. First thing that you have to do is read the question and give a pause whenever you have commas or full stops. For a charity show, stop. A total tickets sold were 420. Half of these tickets were sold at the rate of 5 each, 1/3 at the rate of 3 each, and the rest of for 2 each. What is the total amount received? So you read it twice again, and then you have to calculate the total amount that you mark it here, and then start solving it. And before marking, at every step, check the your calculations. And finally, when you are marking, before marking, read the question again, read what is being asked, and then only then mark it. I hope this is clear. I'll just see what are the questions that people have raised. Yeah, Amit Shukla had asked whether it is, is it possible to prepare CSAT in 1 month? Yes, it is absolutely. You can prepare for the CSAT if you have studied maths in your school days. So you can do it. I would never say you cannot do it. There is still around 45 to 50 days left. You can still prepare for CSAT. So how many questions you have to solve in GS? In GS, it actually depends on your accuracy. Some people have attempted 70 questions and they have cleared. Some people solve 95 questions also and they also clear. It all depends on your accuracy. What you have to do is whenever you are practicing questions, mock tests, you see what's your accuracy and how many, what's your, efficient attempts that you can do. For some people, the number of mistakes they do reduces if they're solving 80 to 85 questions. But for some people, they maximize their marks when they are attempting 90, 95 questions. So everything depends on the individual basis. There is no clear-cut, I cannot give a clear-cut, method or a way to tell that this is the number of questions that you can solve. And the number of questions that you have to solve also depends on your category also. So the general merit category, people may have to take more risks. But for people from other categories, they may consider not taking too many risks. If they are very sure with the answers. So in GS there are two types. There are different types of questions. Questions that you are very sure, absolutely sure. For example, you know the right answers. Questions that you know the right answers. This is the first type of questions. The second type of questions is where you are able to eliminate 2 options. You have eliminated 2 options. 2 options. The third part is you have eliminated 1 option. And fourth is you cannot eliminate any option. So you are clueless about this question. You're not able to eliminate any option. For some people, for some category, I mean, if you have done very well, I mean, if this kind of number of questions that you have absolutely know that it is right, if this is sufficient, for example, some people would have got this as 30 questions out of this 100 questions. They know that absolutely, they know that these 30 questions are right. And in this two options which they have eliminated, they have got another 30, 40 questions there. So people who have were supposed to get higher marks, like for example, if you know according to your category, if you have to score very high, then you may have to attempt even this question also. I mean, the questions where you have eliminated just one options. But if your attempts are more, I mean, in this question itself, you have covered 85 to 90 questions, then you may not have to attempt these two part. So it all depends on the exam day. That if you have to see whether how many questions that you have attempted till now, and then do you have to take any more risks to try to clear the cutoffs. So you have to be, I mean, you can do that. You can all this when you are doing mocks now. When you are doing mocks, see first what you do is you do the questions that is for clearly that this is right. So if you know that the answer is any one answer is perfectly correct, so you do that. And for the question that you have eliminated two options, please mark it up, in a separate ink, and the same way for these two. And once you are done that, after doing all the papers, I mean the whole calculation, see how many questions from this category, the second category, were correct, how many questions from the third category were correct, and how many questions from the fourth category were correct. And depending on that, you can fine tune your strategy. For example, when you are solving, for example, if this is a GS question and you can eliminate one option here, and you have three options left, so you may write 3 here, so that when you are analyzing the paper, you know that this was among the third category. You have eliminated one option and only 3 options were left, and you took a guess and see whether what is your accuracy in that kind of questions. And if you are able to solve, I mean, eliminate 2 options, then 2 would be left. So you can mark it as 2, and then mark this any one in this, and then again check whether what is your accuracy. In that way, you can select. I mean, you can find out what's your best strategy. I hope I've cleared this. And then please clear that how many questions for the CSAT. I hope that I've cleared. I mean, depending on this chart and depending on your accuracy level, you can see what's your ideal attempts. So normally people do is attempt more than 40-45 questions, at least 40-45 questions. I mean, if your accuracy is good, you can solve less, but people tend to make mistakes. So one more strategy to do, I mean, in the examination hall is for the CSAT. Like if there is 2 hours, solve maths first. Please do this. Don't take maths in the last. Solve maths first, at least for the first 40 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes. And when you are solving, search for easy questions. So again, there will be a problem that what is easy? Easy is something where you are okay with solving the questions. For example, some people are not comfortable with mixtures. So for them, mixture is difficult. For some people, mixture is easy because they may have solved so many questions of mixture problems. For them, it is easy. So you see the questions that you are comfortable with, the topics that you are comfortable with. For example, if you are good with time, speed, distance, solve that. If you are good with age questions, solve that. Age questions. If you are good with algebra questions, solve that. Or if you are good with number properties, solve those questions. And sometimes even in these questions, there may be tough questions. So don't take it to your ego and sit with those questions for a long time. don't take more than 3 to 4 minutes for each question. So that's why in this 45 minutes, try to solve around 20 to 25 questions that you can do in your first 1 hour. And then when you have covered the easy and the medium questions, go to the verbal part, the reading comprehension part. In the reading comprehension, there will be some tough questions, easy questions. So if you are, once you read the question and then you, read the passage, and if you read the question, you will understand that you can easily find out the right answer. In those questions, mark those answers and find out all the easy questions that you can do. Okay. Even here, if you can grab 10 to 12 questions, the verbal and logical reasoning questions. If you can grab 10 to 12 or 10 to 15 questions, your attempts would be like 25, 35, 40 questions. And this you can do like first 45 minutes, you can do maths, and then next 45 minutes, you can do the reading comprehension and logical reasoning. So it would be 1.5 hours, 1 hour 30 minutes to 1 hour 40 minutes. So at least in 1 hour 30 minutes, before they announce that there is the last, during the last half an hour, they'll come and announce that last half an hour is left, last 20 minutes is left, last 15 minutes is left. At least in those time, don't solve the easy questions. At least ensure that you have completed the easy questions before they start making announcement and start disturbing you. Because what happens is when they announce that there is 20 minutes left or there is 10 minutes left, the brain starts getting into panic mode. So in that time, even easy questions, you can make mistakes, and you will not be able to clearly think through the problem. So ensure that in the first 1 hour 30 minutes or 1 hour 40 minutes, you are done with all the easy and medium questions of the paper, and then try to solve the difficult questions. Difficult in the sense if it is taking too long, and if there are multiple steps and multiple concepts involved in the maths question, skip it for the last part. And ensure that you have solved all the questions here. Easy and medium questions of verbal and also easy and medium questions of maths. Because in the end, you don't know what would happen. They may come and announce, somebody will come and say that there will be a lot of disturbances. People will come and take the question papers that are, people who have absent. Those question papers, they come and take back. And the invigilator keeps announcing that 10 minutes is left, 15 minutes is left. So in the first 45 minutes, you solve the maths questions, because maths questions are tough and it's getting tougher these days. And once you are solved with, once you are done with, this is not hard and fast. 45 minutes is not hard and fast. If you know that there are still some easy and medium questions left, you can take extra time. You can take extra time and ensure that all the easy and medium questions of maths are solved. And then after that, get into the logical reasoning questions. So first you have maths, that is pure maths, and then logical reasoning, and then verbal part. So this is clearly easy and medium. Easy is if you can do it in 1 minute to 2 minutes, it is easy. Medium is 3 minutes question. If it is taking 3 minutes, that is medium. If it is easy, 1 to 2 minutes. So complete those easy and medium first, and then move to the tougher questions in the same order. I hope this is clear. PT 365 covers all aspects of questions asked. No material of any coaching institute will cover everything of the CSAT, the prelims. There will always be questions, even if you ask the topper, there would be only, he would be only able to solve perfectly not more than 20 to 35 questions for sure, even the guy who has got first rank. So, and even in this 20-25 questions, they will not be very sure whether it is correct or not. So there will be somewhere like, the number of questions that they know for sure is correct would be somewhere like close to 20, 20, 35. and 2 option eliminated would be like 40 questions to 45 questions. 3 option eliminated would be 10 to 15 or 20 questions. So nobody, I mean, no coaching institute, I mean, they may claim that the questions has come from their book, but UPSC is very smart. I think they have some people who are checking these in coaching institutes materials, and they'll ensure that the questions are, at least they look fresh. If questions are similar, it will be similar for everyone. If question is tough, then it will be tough for everyone. So don't rely too much on the coaching institute PT365 or any material. Just ensure that you are covering all the basic concepts, because you have to ensure that what everyone knows, you also know. Because if something is easy for others and if you are making mistake in that, your selection will be very tough. But if the question is tough for everyone, you may even skip the question. But your preparation should be such that at least you should be very confident with the static or the standard sources. For example, people study spectrum for modern history. At least you should know that the question, the facts that they're asking is not in this book. You should have that much confidence. If you know that the question is not from spectrum, you know that at least 90% of the people would not do it correctly, or there should be some hint in the question or in the options. You should prepare such that you should be, whatever you study, you should be very strong in that material. For example, if you are studying Lakshmikant for polity, you should be very thorough with Lakshmikant. You should know that this question cannot be solved using Lakshmikant. If you know that thing, then you are prepared well for the exam. But if you have a problem that you think that, okay, this question has come from Lakshmikant and you are not able to recollect it properly, then it would be difficult to even leave the questions. So whatever material you are choosing, be very good with it, so that you get the confidence of judging the paper. Some people can analyze the paper there in the examination hall, that this question is tough and this question is not tough, or this question is from the standard material and this question is out of the box questions. And if you are very thorough with the standard books, you can judge the questions there, whether you have to attempt or whether you should not attempt. See, for example, in the prelims, there are 2 types of questions. One, that you know. If you know this, I mean, people who know this thing, they can directly mark. These questions will be from the standard books. Standard books or standard themes, which everyone knows. Second type of questions is where you will have a common or a well-known theme. But the options, I mean, the sub-question, in the question itself, there will be 2 to 3 lines. And in one aspect, they would have given some information which you would not be very sure, which you may have not read. For example, they may ask about Buddhism, and everyone knows about Buddhism. And in that Buddhism, they may ask one particular thing. These 2, I mean, they would have given this one sentence, 2, 3. 1 and 3, everyone would know. Second part of information, nobody would know. In that kind of questions, you may have to take a risk. This is the second type of questions. Third type of questions, you would not have known anything. I mean, nothing would be familiar in that question. That kind of questions, what happens is you may have to search for a hint in that question. There may be some hint in that question which will help you to solve that question. If there is no hint, I mean, if you are not able to get any hint out of this question, somewhere in the question stem or in the options, somewhere there would be some hint. So if you are not able to get that hint, or clue, you cannot solve that question. But UPSC does give this hint. It normally gives hint. Don't be afraid of questions that are not heard of. For example, if you have read thoroughly PT 365, if you have read thoroughly your standard books like Spectrum, Polity, NCRT, Lakshmikant, and Geography NCRTs, and then Environment, you have any one book, Shankar IAS or something. So if you have read these standard books and standard sources, and even after this, if you get a question where you have not heard this question in the last 1 year, then there would be some hint in the question. Search for the hint like a detective. If you don't get that hint, because if you get afraid of that question, you may not find the hint. So search for the question for the hint. If you get the hint, it's good. Eliminate the options, and if you can eliminate and get the right answer, it's fair. If you're eliminating only 2 options, then mark any one out of the 2. If you're not able to eliminate, leave that question. So there will be third type of questions where you have not heard and there is no clue. Fourth type of questions. So you cannot do anything to that question. I mean, that question would be difficult for everyone. You cannot do anything for that. So don't worry. Don't think that your preparation was weak and you have not prepared well, and don't get nervous. If you are prepared well, what is preparing well? Preparing well is reading the standard books, reading the standard sources which everybody reads, and be very thorough with it. That is the static part. If you are very thorough, you will be very confident in attempting this paper. And please be open. I mean, always be looking out for hints in the examination hall. This paper is not a knowledge test. This is about concepts and also your emotional intelligence part. You should be very calm, composed, and check for your clues in the examination hall. So don't worry. I mean, if you are very thorough with the static part and standard materials, that would be more than enough for you to solve the paper. And please don't panic in the examination hall. Please be open-minded. Just act like a detective. Try to grab as many questions as possible, and don't worry. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing would happen. You would come back alive. So just go give your exam with the confidence and come back, because people with confidence have cleared this exam. There is no, this is not a knowledge-based exam. This is about the confidence and using half knowledge to arrive at the answers. I mean, you may have read something in your standard books, and using that standard knowledge that you have got from, for example, NCRT, geography and all, you can eliminate 1 or 2 or 3 or 3 options, and then you could arrive at the final answer. So don't think that UPSC is there to destroy you. UPSC is there for people who are smart, who are attentive, and who have the confidence, and who are also hardworking. Hardworking in the sense that you have to cover thoroughly the basic parts like NCRTs of geography, Lakshmikant, and all other standard books. And if you are done with that, you don't have to be nervous. Where can we find concept-related questions other than previous year's questions? So I think, Prajwal, you are talking about the CSAT questions. You can refer to any standard books like R.S. Agarwal or Arihant for maths sections. And please choose a book where they have given section-wise, topic-wise questions. You can take any. I think R.S. Agarwal also have given section-wise. There is an Arihant book also which they have given section-wise. So you can refer those books. Basaraj Patil has asked that this strategy to see solution. Okay, I've addressed that. How to manage study time at this point? There is subject-wise CSAT, CA tests to give, revising them, other miscellaneous things. Mock test marks are also depressing. See, mock test, you don't have to worry, because if you're getting more in the mock test, you would become overconfident. So even if you're getting decent scores, if you are just ensure that you are good with statics. Revise the static part very well. Ensure that at least you can identify that this question can be solved using that book or not. For example, if there is a modern history question, you have to be so thorough with the whatever book that you study. For example, now people normally study Spectrum. It should be so thorough that you should at least say, even if you don't know the correct answer, at least say that the answer is in the textbook, in this book. at least if you get that kind of confidence, then it is you're in a better position to clear the exam. Ensure that thing, please. I mean, at least for questions that are there for modern history or ancient history, whatever source that you have, at least be very thorough with it. So at least say, for example, if you are reading ancient history from old NCERT or the new NCERTs, at least take one book. So if you see an old NCERT, or if you see an ancient history question, at least you should be able to say that this question is, the answer is in this book, it is available in this book. If you have that kind of confidence, that is what is called getting thorough with the topics. So do that. That would be more than enough. You don't have to worry. And how to manage time in this time? Okay. What you can do is you can solve questions. I mean, solve mock exams and identify the weak areas. Identify the weak areas in using this mock. For example, you may be weak in the tribal revolt section part of modern history. So modern history, you may not be able to solve or recollect properly. So go and see tribal revolt. For example, if you are solving mock and you are having trouble identifying the tributaries of rivers, go and complete all the tributaries, all the rivers and its tributaries. So in that way, you can optimize your time. CA current affairs. See, what you can do is at least 3 to 5 hours you can give for mocks, and 3 to 6 hours you can give for the static part, and 1 hour for CA current affairs, and 1 hour or 2 hours for CSAT. This will be 5 plus 4, yeah, around 12 to 13 hours you can study. I mean, I hope you are studying for full time. If you're studying for full time, you can give 12 to 13 hours, and in that you can cover a mock and then cover the static part, then cover a little bit of CA, half an hour to 1 hour CA, and then around 1 hour to 2 hours CSAT. I mean, if you can follow this part, I mean, to cover in the static also, you can identify the weak areas and then cover those weak areas. Instead of reading everything from the start to the end. Don't read the cover to cover book now. Identify the themes. Yeah, I wanted to address that also. So identify, using the previous year question paper, identify the themes and then read accordingly. For example, in ancient, Buddhism, Jainism is asked every time. Buddhism, Jainism. And then you have Ashoka questions. This is like standard questions. Ashoka, Buddhism, Jainism. In medieval India, medieval history, you have Vijayanagara. In Vijayanagara, you have this travelers. And then medieval, you have Bhakti questions. In that, some religious reformers. In modern history, you would get the questions from that Acts, Regulating Act, and all those acts that are there. And then there will be questions from the Gandhiji related questions. And then there may be related to these governor generals. And in geography, you have mapping. In environment, you have this national parks, mapping, rivers. Environment, you have national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves. You have this Ramsar sites. You have lakes. You have passes. And geography, economics. Economics, they ask concepts like what if concepts like what if inflation is increasing, or what should the government do, and monetary policies like how to control inflation, whether they have to increase the repo rate or decrease the repo rate. And then they may ask foreign exchange. I mean, if foreign direct investments are increasing, what will happen to the currency, the depreciation or appreciation of the currencies. So all these concepts are standard concepts. So you have to go through these concepts. You have to go through the PYQs and identify these concepts, the themes that they ask usually, and then prepare that. Only for that. I mean, you can, once you are done with this, you can refer other things also, but you have to at least ensure that you are completing these things. And once you are done, your confidence will also increase. Topics of CSAT. Okay. CSAT topics we are normally covering in our sessions. I'll just make a list of it and then post it in the channel. I mean, in the Telegram channel if you want. Those are standard questions. I mean, everybody, and you can just identify algebra questions, simple interest, compound interest questions, time, speed, distance, age, directions, probability, permutation, combinations, the squares and cubes, calendar type questions, clock, calendar questions. I mean, clock, calendar, probability, permutations are a bit difficult. So instead of that, you can prepare for other things, algebra questions, number systems and all those things. So if you are scoring less in GS, and how to overcome that. So if you are scoring less in GS, find out why you are scoring less. There may be various reasons. One, you don't know the information. You have not read, do not know. This is one source of mistakes or the things. The second is you are making simple mistakes in marking answers. So for example, you are not reading the question properly, that kind of stuff. And the third is you're making silly mistakes. Like you know the answer, you have while marking you may have made a mistake. So please ensure that if you do not know, you have to read it. Go read the source. If it's from a standard topic, then you can go search and read like for example, Buddhism, Jainism. If you don't know about the basic tenets of Buddhism, Jainism, you have to go and read. You read about Ashoka, you read about Mauryas and all. Don't leave these topics. Vijayanagara, travelers, Bhakti movement, modern history, your acts, and then tribal movements, 1857 revolt, and freedom movement from the final Gandhiji's phase, and then moderates that phase also. So those are important sections. Like for example, you have done a mistake in identifying the national parks or the rivers, you have to go and read it. If you are making silly mistakes, ensure that you don't repeat the same mistake. You note down the silly mistakes that you do. This is note down the mistakes. This is for both CSAT and GS also. Note down the mistakes for both CSAT and make a notebook or a sheet, and see before attempting. See that sheet before attempting the mock. See all the mistakes that you normally commit, and then go and solve the mock. In that way, you would understand what are the mistakes that you do, and you could minimize it. And again, the same thing, silly mistakes and mistakes here. And there may be some, in some cases, there may be hints in the questions or the options, and you may have failed to understand that. You may have failed to realize that. So if you are making mistakes, or if you are not able to see the hints, then ensure that from the next attempt or next mock, you search for the hints properly. So in this way, you can improve your scores. So don't worry about the scores. Scores will improve. Even if your scores are less, the real exam would be equal to everyone. I mean, everyone, even the people who have scored 120, people, I mean, whom I have known, for these many years, even they are worried. Even people who have cleared the exam, even people who have got into IPS or IRS, even they are worried about the exam, and even they are not sure when they are sitting inside the examination hall. So don't worry. Go with the confidence, prepare with confidence. So exact current affairs magazines. See, magazine you can refer anything. For example, normally stick to, for example, what people do is see, if you have read one magazine for the last 1 year, stick to that part. Whatever. For example, if you have taken Vision IAS, if you have read their monthly magazine, stick to Vision IAS monthly magazine. Don't change the source. Because what happens is if you have marked all the you mark the stuff in that book, and if you change that, it will be very difficult to recall the things. See, it depends on how many months you have already read. For example, people read from June to June or from January to June, or sorry, this time it's in May. So it would be like June to April or May. I think June to April would be more than sufficient. Like January to June, or sorry, last year was 2022. Jan to April 2023. I think if you have read these things, continue that. Don't change the source now, because if you change the source, it will be very difficult to recall things from the new book. So I've already read it once or twice and marked the important points. Read the same book. Don't even shift to PT 365. For example, if you are reading monthly magazines of Vision IAS and you have marked all the important points in the monthly magazine, don't take PT 365 now. Stick to the monthly magazine. Because if you stick to, if you change the source, your retention capability would fall. When you will not be able to recall things in the exam. So please don't change the sources now. If you have any question, okay, if you have any questions, please post it in the chat. It may be the general preparation strategy or GS part, or if you are not confident, if you have any query with the preparation aspect, please ask. And when you are going into the examination hall, please be very confident. Even if you are not prepared well, the confidence will help you clear the CSAT. The confidence, and don't make silly mistakes. It's not like you go and attempt all the questions that are there. Be very sensible and see what are the questions that you can attempt, and attempt those and come. Because at the end of the day, you cannot do anything more than that. So is there any other questions that you have to, any queries that you have? I hope I've addressed all the queries that you had. Don't worry about the marks. If you are scoring very less in the marks, take the marks as a learning exercise. Treat it as a learning exercise. Solve the marks so that your main aim should be like, I have learned 5 different things, new things from solving this mock. So if you go with that attitude, you would have that motivation and encouragement to solve mocks. So if there are no more questions, then we'll end this session here. I hope I've addressed your queries, and I hope I'm helpful in your preparation. So Are there any doubts? Okay. So I think we'll end the session here if there are no more doubts. If you still have any doubt, you can ask it using the Google forms that we have posted in the Telegram channel. Or else if you want any more doubts clearing session, we'll do conduct that also. So I think we'll end the session here. It's already 1 hour 15 minutes. So thanks for coming. Thank you for taking the trouble of coming on the weekend to attend the session. I hope I've done justice to your time, and be confident with your preparation. Thank you.